Just Erica Martin with Weather Co-op, where weather meets community, and it is right about midnight, and we are definitely making sure that the nation is nice and safe under our watchful weather eye. So, a couple of things right now. We are tracking that storm system that I talked about earlier in the week. Happy Friday, by the way, or happy Saturday, really. I hope everybody's having a wonderful start to their weekend, and congratulations to the was that a grand slam, my husband said? First one ever in World Series playoff game or whatever? Congrats. All right. So, right now, let's go ahead and start off with Southern California. That seems apropos, right? So, Dodgers win that. And it looks like conditions right now around Southern California are pretty quiet. I'm going to go ahead and just get to that in just one moment. There's a bit of lag on this. That can sometimes happen. We are seeing a couple of items here, but again, generally pretty quiet. We have a marine statement issued, and this is for East Santa Barbara Channel from Point Conception to Point Mugu, and this includes the Santa Cruz Islands, inner waters from Point Mugu to San Mateo, California, including Santa Catalina, and waters from Point Sal to Santa Cruz Island. So we're looking at a dense fog advisory essentially issued for portions of the coastal waters, and that's a big story, of course, because it is a marine statement. So people still, boating out there, please be really mindful. Have a safe night, all right, and definitely have a wonderful night. Apart from that, conditions are really comfortable here in Southern California, and I will give you our current temperatures in just one moment. But let's go ahead and zoom on out and see what else we have going on here. Looks like we're seeing some marine statements also issued for the Pacific Northwest. So those look like small craft advisories, possibly rip current situations. I'm going to click on that very quickly on this blue. Do you see that? Hazardous sea warnings. So remain in effect until 5 a.m. PDT, small craft advisory, until 5 a.m. or from 5 a.m. until 5 p.m. So hazardous seas, south winds 25 to 30 knots, gusts up to 35, and it looks like seas 10 to 13 feet at 9 to 12 seconds. So that is definitely a pretty volatile environment. So if you happen to have loved ones up there, if you happen to just want to keep an eye out, that's the story. But I would tell you that right now, I'm going to be tracking this storm for the Pacific Northwest. It's going to impact us. It's this guy right up here, if you can see to the northwest of the Pacific Northwest of Washington State and Oregon. So that Aleutian low is going to dive on down. This is just where it gets active this time of the year. And you see to the southwest, we have uh, Christy, right? Christy. So that's another story. And again, we talked about how Christy was just going to stay out to sea, and that really wasn't going to be a big story, apart from the fact that it might get picked up in a couple of days, meaning the remnants of Christy might get picked up by a system, as I showed you some stuff happening moving across the Pacific, right? So that's always a big story. So we're in the Eastern Pacific. We've got the Western Pacific, Central Pacific, Eastern Pacific. So these storms move across the Pacific, and generally speaking, a lot of the storms that have been kind of clipping us from Canada, those have been very dry. But when you get something that's coming out from the ocean, it needs to tap into a moisture source. And oftentimes, something like remnants of Christy would be something that provides that moisture source. And then it looks like we're also tracking a broad area of low pressure. Just to the, I'd say, east southeast of Christy, but it looks like it's nothing right now, and it really looks like it's going to remain nothing. Okay. Now, I did talk about this a couple of days ago. There was something like an area of low pressure that broad area of low pressure seemed to be coming together where they normally do off the coast of West Africa, and we have to track that for you. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and post a long range outlook, but this is just a quick snapshot. So that's kind of the wider range and the more macro scale range. Now, as we take a look at some of these alerts issued by the National Weather Service, I think these are of interest, especially when we head on over to New England, to the tri-state area. Do you see that we still have those fire weather statements issued by the National Weather Service? And so this is including all of Connecticut. It looks like most of Massachusetts, all of Massachusetts and I'd say 2/3, if not pretty much the entire state of New Jersey. So we have high winds, high wind gusts, low relative humidity. Now, low in the 30s, okay? So, relatively speaking, right? Because we were seeing low relative humidity for portions of the Intermountain West at like 10 to 12%. Here, we're seeing about 30%, which is still considerably dry, especially when you do have stronger wind speeds and wind gusts. And you're looking for the potential for any wildfire to spread and spread quickly. And then if you look right around Pennsylvania, then you look at upstate New York or New York State, you have these special weather statements that are being issued and that are being recorded right now by the National Weather Service because we're seeing the increasing threat of the risk of fire spread on Saturday. So this is going to be in effect on Saturday. Now, could it be extended? Possibly. So outdoor burning is strongly discouraged, and that's something we want to keep in mind. We also have special statements, marine statements issued by the National Weather Service as well. So those are always worth clicking on and really just getting more information because you want to know everything that's happening, especially along those coastal waters. Let's zoom in just a little bit more and see if we can get a good snapshot there. That should be good right there. Let's get our little query box going and we should be ready to rock and roll, guys. Here it is. Looks like we have our statements issued. Are we populating? We might be. We might be. These are definitely small craft advisories, right? For some reason, they're just not populating right now. Let me zoom on in just a little bit closer. Sometimes it does matter. I mean, generally speaking, though, spatial resolution on this is pretty good. Should it matter? But let's just go ahead and zoom in a little bit closer. Why wouldn't we? I mean, it's a Friday night. It's you and I, and we're just having a wonderful time. Yep, small craft advisory. That's all. I just needed to zoom in a little bit. Small craft advisory remains in effect from 6 p.m. Saturday to 1 p.m. Sunday, EDT. North winds 15 to 20 knots, gusting up to 30 at times, and seas 4 to 6 feet. Expected. So coastal waters, up and down the eastern seaboard. Do you see that through portions of the Carolinas? So just keep that in mind, right? Especially so many people have boats. And I don't know some people still might be out there because it was actually kind of warm this week for many of you. And then we're going to head into parts of the plains. And this is where we're seeing some frost advisories issued by the National Weather Service. So frost advisory, and we also have a freeze warning. So now I really have seen generally warmer conditions and generally, especially for this time of the year. So this is just something we want to keep in mind because this is sometimes where when conditions are generally quiet and warm and nice, people forget. And then something like this could kill crops and really impact your sensitive vegetation and possibly damage unprotected outdoor plumbing. So something you also want to keep in mind. But like I said to you, this is really the big story as far as I'm concerned up in the Pacific Northwest region, apart from all the fire weather, of course, because we always have to keep everybody nice and safe. Let me get my clicker. I got my clicker. So our clicker shows us our future cast hour by hour. And I'm just going to go ahead and push this through. And you see here how we've been getting this same look for the past couple of days. And as we move this through Tuesday, 1 a.m., do you see here, now this is going to be central time, right? So you can see the snow, you can see the rain, you can see that that change over. There is a frontal boundary, but guys, this isn't like an impactful one. We said that the next storm system that would come in would have more moisture than the previous one. That's exactly what's happening. These things take time. So first we saw some storms that were moisture deficient, right? This past week, they were mainly like little clippers coming down. Then I said, we're going to start watching what's happening in the Pacific, right? Now, and then I tracked some stuff from the Western Pacific across the central into the Eastern Pacific. And we saw that it was getting a little bit more active, right? So now we see here that it looks like we might be tracking something. So with that said, I'm going to stop this forecast or this update for you. And then I'm going to just go ahead and share this. And then I'll be right back. I'm meteorologist Erica Martin with Weather Co-op, where weather always meets. community. So, guys, I'm so excited, and I certainly hope you're all having a wonderful night. Keep in mind, we will be back in just a few minutes with more updates about everything that's happening across the nation. All right, bye.